but you have these moments where you know that your efforts are being seen. Somebody acknowledges something you didn't even think about, something you did in passing or you said. There's these moments that kind of make it all worth it. How we doing? How are we doing? We're here. It is 2 o'clock and I'm finally getting a chance to take a well-deserved break by my go-to spot. A lot of the stuff going on lately for me kind of revolves around work for the most part. In our society, which I believe that we've gone way off course with the ways that we should be living, the ways that we should be thinking. I think it's all out of alignment. But the more you get in touch with, I don't want to say your mission in life necessarily. Certain ways of being, if you pay attention, they speak to you, When you say something a certain way, or you stand up for yourself, or you express yourself artistically, certain things are going to resonate for you. And anytime that happens, you definitely should follow that thread. When something hits for you, it's a sign that you're on the right path for you. It doesn't have to resonate with anybody else. Which I feel like I could go on a tangent on that, but I'm really connecting it to work because I've had the same job I've worked for the same company for 17 years, I think, something like that. Before I know it, it'll be 20 years. And I've moved up and I've had many different positions over the years. But I was a kid when I started working for this company, I had just turned 21. I've changed a lot, and by living my life, I've encountered those moments of resonance with things that call to me, and I've learned to follow that path in all directions. It's led me to feel more connected with, again, I don't want to say my mission, a certain perspective that I bring to the table, a unique viewpoint on certain things, the way I approach things other people wouldn't. There's a certain value that we all bring to the table, whether it's at work or not. But over the years, I've learned to trust, to protect the things that resonate with me. Because in society, at your job, whatever, people cut corners and they do things that are illegal. These are not implications to the company I work for at all. But we all know how the world works, Laws are made to be broken. The need for profit and infinite growth paradigm that we're trapped in, your morals are constantly going to be at question. And it's up to the individual to either fall into that trap and every time you give into it, it gets easier and easier. That's why you end up with, for example, people going into politics with the best intentions that end up being corrupt, you know? There's a lot of evil going on in the world, but I genuinely think that most people don't have the evil intent that it appears is out there. I think, you know, people, I think a lot of times think they have the best intentions, or those little micro decisions they make where society pushes up against, you know, your will to stand by your morals and what you know is true for you. They're these small decisions you make every day, and 10, 20, you know, decades later, you don't even know who you are anymore. And that's what society tends to do to us. So I have compassion for most people because we're all under constant pressure. But I definitely question if I should be where I'm at, you know, as far as my job goes. Because a lot of things just don't resonate with the way I want to live my life. And it's really tiring year after year to constantly be pushing back against that whole system to preserve your morals, you know, the things that are right, at least things that are right for you, you know. But then I think about how much my approach is needed. It's so needed at the place I work. Like, who else would handle this way, or make this certain decision, or care about the things that no one else seems to care about? The truth is that these issues are gonna follow you anywhere in life, any job you go to. It's okay that you don't feel like you belong, or, you know, you pushing back against all these systems can make you feel isolated and like, maybe I just don't belong here, you know. But I think it's more empowering to, you know, think about what you specifically contribute to whatever system you're in, and, you know, ask yourself, like, who else is going to do this, you know? It gives me a sense of purpose, and it gets me through the hard days where I don't want to do it anymore, or I'm too tired, or whatever it is. I don't want to think that I'm unique or special, you know, but when you look around, sometimes you can be in environments where you don't feel that resonance with other people, as far as other people doing what feels right to them as well. It just feels like people get lost in the cyclone and they lose their character and they just become like a cog in the wheel, I guess. When I come from a place of authenticity, and I'm not trying to be a boss to anybody, if I'm coming from a place of logic and compassion, all the things that the world needs more of, you know, coming from a place of the good, I mean, I see in my life that it's contagious. Like, it brings order to the chaos around you, and it's like it spreads like a virus if you do it the right way, you know. And I see how my energy contributes to the whole, whether it's friend groups or family or work, whatever it is. It's all about, you know, feeling into those things that are right to you and being committed to pushing those ideas or that lifestyle or those morals without compromising them. And it's so hard, you know. If anyone resonates with it, I know it is hard, but you have these moments where you know that your efforts are being seen. Somebody acknowledges something you didn't even think about, something you did in passing or you said. You know, there's these moments that kind of make it all worth it, you know. It doesn't take much validation that you're on the right path, you know. And it goes both ways too. Like, when it comes to, this is kind of a separate topic, but when it comes to being in a leadership position, which is what I'm in, I've also noticed that, like, people don't need that much. They don't need that much encouragement. They don't need that much more money. You know, they need very little incentive to do better. So it works on the inward, you know, on the spiritual journey as well, where it doesn't take much external validation to, like, keep you on that path. But if you go a while without getting it, man, it gets hard. As much of a struggle as it is, you know, I never lose sight, you know, never lose sight of why you're doing what you're doing, and to always have hope for, you know, tomorrow, waking up with refreshed energy to tackle the next day, you know. It all pays off in the end. Doing the right thing and saying what needs to be said, doing the hard things in life, it pays off. It always pays off.